All right, welcome everybody. I'm Linda Peacock-Landrum, Director of Career Services at UW Green Bay. And thank you for joining us for our program today, focusing on internships. So we have 4 current UW Green Bay students. One is a graduate student, the other 3 are undergraduate students that have completed practical experiences and internships and representing majors in College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences and College of Health, Education, and Social Welfare. So we're going to start by asking each one of our student panelists to introduce who they are and to give us a very brief understanding about their internships, which if you've done more than one, I know that that can be pretty detailed, but at least say what you had done and where, and then we'll move through that. I have some standard questions that I'd like to ask, but really this is focused on the student participants. So I'm going to default to see if they have questions, and you can put those in the chat. Otherwise, I will proceed and ask some of the kinds of questions that I know typically have been asked of us in career services, okay? All right, so we're gonna start with alphabet, and I'm looking at everybody's names, and I'll go by first name. So Cassidy, we'll let you start. We'll go then to Cassandra, and then Cecilia, and then Gabby, okay?
Yeah. So hi everyone, my name is Cassidy Ruchti. I am a senior this year and I will be graduating after this semester, so in December. I am double majoring in political science and democracy and justice studies with an emphasis in criminal justice and a minor in public administration. It definitely is a mouthful. My internship was with the Middleton Police Department. I did that last summer. And just some things about it, I guess. I like to put it as it was a glorified ride along. I was with an officer on all of my shifts, and I was in the squad car with them. I was out on calls with them. I got to interact with some traffic stops, and then I learned their computer system, so I was able to help do tickets and warnings and stuff like that. Trying to think what else. But yeah, I just got to learn kind of the ins and outs of everything.
Hi, everybody. My name is Cassandra. I am the one graduate student. My undergraduate degree was from UWGB in psychology, and I had a minor in women and gender studies and human development. I'm currently working on a master's of social work for the graduate program. And in my undergraduate experience, I had 3 different internships. I was an intern at Foxview Middle School in De Pere. That I was working with students and teachers to try to help with their day-to-day tasks, moving to classes, helping with their work, anything that was really needed. I also was an intern at the Psychology Student Success Center. There I met with students who are pursuing a degree in psychology and talked to them about different options and different things that the psychology department had for them on campus. And I also helped them declare their majors. And my last internship was with Camp Lloyd. It is a camp for grieving children. So we worked throughout the semester to be able to work with children. And then this summer we had the kids at camp. Camp looked a little different with COVID, but a lot of it was just finding the love between each other and remembering our loved ones. For my graduate program, I am currently the intern with Career Services and Accessibility Services, and I'm actively working on creating a program for students with disabilities to gain work in the job force.
Hello, my name is Cecilia Lemix. I am a senior at UW Green Bay. I am majoring in psychology and minoring in humanities with a world culture emphasis. I've had a few internships. A couple are similar with Cassandra. I've had the internship at the Psychology Student Success Center as well as Camp Lloyd. I've also had a research assistantship with the Neuro Lab, and that leads into my honors project / independent study for my own research project. And then with my internship with Camp Lloyd, I also found the opportunity for a Camp to Belong during the summer. as well as I've had an internship over this past summer with the Hope House, which is a domestic violence sexual assault center.
Where are you right
Mine-
now? Oh, hang on, Gabby. Where are you right now, Cecilia? You didn't mention OIE.
Oh, yes. And then I also this semester I have an internship with the Office of International Education, where I help the international students who are here for the semester, help put on events for them, or just help them with paperwork and other stuff, as well as students who are wanting to go abroad, answer questions and set up appointments for them as well.
Thank you. And Gabby, go ahead.
Okay, I'm Gabby. I am also a senior at UW Green Bay. I have a general emphasis psychology major and a triple emphasis communication major with emphases in public relations, social media strategies, and organizational communication, which is also a mouthful. My internships, I had a 2-year internship with Career Services as their social media intern. I also interned with the new zoo as their photography and graphic design intern, and then with a camp down at home that is for disabled children and adults, I was their social media and PR intern. And then this January, I'll be going to Belize for 2 weeks to do speech pathology with underprivileged children down there.
Very cool. So before I ask questions that I have, Madeline, do you have something specific that you'd like to ask? You're going to get a special opportunity since as of right now, you are a lone connected student. But if you're not comfortable asking a question initially, that's fine. But I want to give you that opportunity before I proceed. You can unmute yourself and you don't have to put it in the chat, or you can put it in the chat if you want to ask a question. So first of all, I want to ask, and we'll kind of go the next order. So let Cassandra start with this question. And if you feel like you don't have anything that you want to add or contribute, you don't have to do that, but I want to give you the option to. So first and foremost, students always ask us like, well, why do I need to do an internship? So help Madeline understand why you wanted to do some sort of practical experience. What was your motivator for that?
For me, in the psychology department, you do not need per se an internship or an experience. But if you're looking to apply for further education, grad school, other programs, anything like that, I would highly suggest taking your time in undergrad, which is when you will have the most time because you don't have any in graduate school, to take advantage of these experiences that you can have. I would say it helped out a lot, and it also sets you apart from other applicants in different programs. You want to be a well-rounded student. It's really good to see grades, but they also would like to look into experiences. So if you feel it in your heart to pick one up, I definitely suggest doing it.
Yeah, I would agree with what Cassandra said. For the graduate school aspect, they do look for well-rounded students. And when they see that you've done an internship and you get a reference letter from that internship, they know that you know what you're doing and you did a good job and you have a good reference for it. And then they also see that you it's not just like a textbook knowledge, you have like an in-field knowledge as well. And that can go for like a job knowledge as well.
For me, it was also kind of to see what I wanted to go into, because the communication field, which is what I was until this year when I added on psych, was very diverse and you can literally go into anything. So that can be really overwhelming, especially as a recent graduate. So I took my internships to kind of figure out which path I wanted to go into with all my different emphases and how vast the communication department is.
So for me, it's a little bit different since I'm not going to grad school, and kind of, I have a little bit more schooling, but then going to enter like my career, hopefully. For me, I know that a lot of police departments and employers and everything were looking for that extra experience, kind of like how Cecilia mentioned that you can get experience like in your job and like field of choice and stuff. And I was really able to learn that this is exactly what I wanted to do. But then it kind of gave me a head start and like a preview of what my career is going to be. And then I know I will stand out from other applicants because I already have that prior experience.
Madeline, any point that you have a question, you can put it in the chat. She said she's having some issues with her microphone, and I'll be sure to ask that question. Oftentimes we hear from students that they're hesitant about coming into the organization as an intern. You know, they're reluctant, they're a little hesitant. Can you talk about how that transition went for you as an undergraduate student to being in the role that you had? You can identify one or several places and talk about what that transition was like. And what were some of the things that you did to get the most out of your experience? And we'll start with Cecilia.
So how I first got into my first internship which was the Psychology Student Success Center. I am an officer for the club, but I was like the treasurer. And that was like my first year being an officer in the club. And this other officer had an internship with that place as well. And then there was an opening because one of the students was graduating. And they told me about it and they thought I would be a really good applicant. And I was very, very nervous because I'm like, oh, I don't have any experience. And like the Student Success Center, like you're supposed to go to it for like people who know everything about the department and classes and everything. So I was very hesitant about it. But I talked with her and then the professor that was in charge of it. And we had like a briefly 5-minute interview, just like the three of us. And they're like, oh yeah, I think you'd be a good fit. Come to my office and we'll have an interview. I went to the interview and it was like very easy. Like, what would you do in this situation? So I got it. And the internship, I learned a lot, but then I also talked to like the professors in the department. I talked to like upper classmates as well about their experiences, like their career paths, and like what are like different avenues and tracks that you can go on. And then through there, I just found like little connections with people and professors. I would hear about something. And that's like when I like slowly and was deciding what I wanted to do with my future career, which is furthering my education, but I didn't know exactly what for. A lot of those experiences and learning different things really helped me, as well as figuring out like what other internships I would be really interested in.
So I interviewed for my career services internship my freshman year, which was really overwhelming because I was not into the comm department yet, technically. Like I hadn't been declared as their major and I was already interviewing for an internship and I got it. So personally for me, it was kind of nice because it was on campus. So I kind of already had a feel for campus. So it was a nice like segue for me personally to just start on campus. And then my powwow plugged in one, the one down home, I already worked for them the summer before, so that was different. But the new zoo was the one that was like the most interesting to me, trying to like get adjusted because I was the one intern that didn't deal with animals. I dealt with photography and graphic design. So I was like a lone wolf kind of in that sense. But how I made sure to get the most out of it was just to keep taking on extra projects as I could to further my skills, but also further like the connections that I was making with everyone. So yeah.
I was definitely nervous on my first day, but it was also like a nice reminder that they, at least for me, like the police department had the internship set up because they want people to experience this career. And Middleton actually hires a lot of their interns, so that's also super huge. But just to, I guess, feel more comfortable, I just asked a whole bunch of questions. I was very curious about different things, and there's some that I just wasn't unsure that I was unsure of. And everybody, all the officers that I was with really liked that I was asking questions. It just showed that I was super engaged. And I think having eagerness to learn new things also like helps a lot, because it shows that like you want to be there, and just that, I don't know, it's worth their while for them to have you there as well.
For me, one of the internships that had a big impact was my internship with Foxview in De Pere. It was my first time kind of scooting off campus and going somewhere else. It was about, give or take, 20 minutes from campus. When I started the internship is when the start of COVID happened. So I was in the classroom with teachers for the first 2 weeks, moving with my students as they went to different specials and other stuff that they did. And then at that 2-week point, they told us, you know, I'm so sorry, but we have to put the kids online for the safety of everybody. So my internship was kind of at a halt at that point. But I was still able to come work with students who did not have access to Wi-Fi at home in the school lunchroom. So I was able to work with a student one-on-one a couple days a week to make sure that they were on track and they were getting their work done. And that really helped me kind of figure out that Green Bay was the place for me to apply for grad school. It helped me get out and kind of see all the sites around there, even though it was De Pere. But getting to kind of move around helped me note that, you know, maybe this is the space for me, not only for 4 years, but for 6.
Most of you talked about making the most of the internship and showing initiative to improve your skills and making connections. And I don't think oftentimes students realize that if you're hired in an intern in one role, it doesn't preclude you from learning about other areas within the organization, because you may find out that there is something that piques your interest, something else you'd like to do. But those are also people that have made some sort of commitment to that organization. Granted, Gabby was the lone person that was not working with animals, but she still had an opportunity to connect with working professionals and understand what they do within that environment. And I think sometimes students don't have a comfort level doing that. If it's not offered to you at a site, I encourage you to ask that. You know, can I take some time to go to this department and talk to this individual? Or can I shadow over here to just learn a little bit more? Because it will broaden your opportunity and your exposure. Looking back at your internships, and we'll start with Gabby with this one. Looking back at your internships, 2 things to think about. Is there something that surprised you in terms of a role as an intern? And would you do something different about your internship experiences?
It's kind of a hard one. I guess with my internship back home with the camp, it was hard for me because I got a lot of pushback from my superior, which I hadn't had yet. So that was definitely a challenge for me, was trying to like work with her, but also get them the best like PR and social media that they could, because this was like an older lady who didn't really know anything about Facebook, and all of their platform was Facebook. So it was definitely difficult trying to like work around that. But if I had to change something, I don't know if I would really change anything. I may just like try and get another internship, or have like looked for more as a freshman. But I don't regret any of my internships or any of the stuff that I gained from them. And I feel like if I changed anything, then I wouldn't have gained the experience that I have today.
Good point, because in some cases, I think somebody identified this before Cassie goes, a benefit of an experience with an internship is it helps you decide if it's something that you don't enjoy, or if it's a path that's not quite aligned with the way that you'd want to do. So I always try to tell students all of the experiences are beneficial, maybe just in different ways that you didn't expect going in. Go ahead, Cassidy.
The most challenging thing for me was that throughout like the summer, I rode with several officers. I was able to experience each shift, which was super cool. So first, second, and third. And then on each shift, I rode with probably like 3 different officers. They all pretty much do the same thing, but each their own. So have, even for a traffic stop as an example, the wording that each officer uses when dealing with an individual in a traffic stop, you know, you talk about the same things, but just how they approach it is different, stuff like that. So getting used to everybody's differences was kind of tricky for me, but I actually really liked that, because I was able to kind of pick and choose different things from each officer that I was with and kind of put in the back of my head to be able to apply for myself when I am in their shoes. So it was a nice, like, little learning thing, I guess. And same with Gabby, I probably wouldn't change anything. Maybe doing it sooner and getting another one. Because yeah, as you were just saying, Linda, that I knew, like, after the first day that this was the correct career for me. So I was very fortunate for that, but just being able to experience, like, in another department, another city, stuff like that could have even, like, broadened my horizons even more.
Cassandra, you or Cecilia want to offer insight into that question?
I can add, so the internships that I had that were on campus, like it was very like structured of like, this is your role, this is how you do it, which is also a really good experience. But the internship that I had at the Hope House this past summer, a lot of it was like, oh, well, okay, so the Hope House, it has like these people who are like seeking shelter from domestic violence or sexual assault. They can live there. So we had a few rooms, but then it's also like an office. So I had a mix of like finding things to do for the children that were staying there at the time and doing office work. And a lot of it was either finding something for me to do on my own or like finding programs or things to do for the kids on my own. So that was a bit different for me, but that was also like a really good learning experience as well. And then I would agree with the other two that I wouldn't really change anything about my internships, but I would definitely have started it sooner or to be able to add another one to my experience as well.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I agree with everybody. The experiences that I had for a reason. I'm a firm believer in that everything happens for a reason, whether it's good or bad. So even if you had an experience that might not have been your favorite or it felt like it wasn't right in the moment, oftentimes it teaches you lessons for later. So there's definitely pros and cons to every single space you're going to be in, or internship that you're going to be in, but you got to take it as a learning experience.
Madeline hasn't indicated yet that she had any specific questions yet. So I'm just checking in with her. One thing that I do want you to think about, all of you, and then we'll be starting, I guess, with Cassidy for this one. Think about the experiences that you had on the sites, and can you identify a specific skill set or knowledge base that you think was greatly enhanced for you as a result of doing one or more internships, and that how you think that might help you now moving forward?
So I'm gonna answer the question, but if I'm kind of getting away from your question, just let me know. So even before my internship, I've liked to think myself as a good communicator. I know that people communicate all the time, and half of communicating is also listening, not just hearing, but listening to others. And throughout my internship, I did that a whole bunch. I listened and talked to people of the community, and I think I was able to grow more compassion and empathy through communication. Police officers, they protect and serve the people of their community. And a lot of it is now becoming more community-based and oriented. That of course, you still have the traffic stops and there are definitely arrests and everything, and I was able to experience those. But a lot of it was just listening to people's problems and trying to find a way to fix it. If directly we couldn't fix it, we gave them resources that allowed for that. So I was better able to listen to people and then find better ways to help them rather than always just talking. And I think that's super huge, not only in my career, but just as a life skill in general.
So I'll chime in on this one. So for me, all of my internships in some way, shape, or form are revolving around students. So whether they were younger students, whether they were college age students, it kind of helped me understand that, in my future career, I still do want to work with children or students in some aspect or another. And it also helped me understand that like the difference in level from, young child to young adult can be really different. And it kind of is based off of the experiences that they've had growing up and how they live. So it really helped me be more empathetic and understanding that, not everyone's going to see things the same way, but that doesn't take away from the fact that everybody has an opinion on things. So really helped me kind of see the bigger picture and open up and listen to others' views and opinions a lot better.
With my internships, I would agree with a lot of things that Cassidy and Cassandra were saying. I feel like my empathy grew a lot. Mine also like worked with a lot of children, and it's just also listening to them. You like kind of learn like I'll see people and we'll be watching the same situation and they'll think, oh, that kid's just being like troublemaking on purpose, and then I'm like, well, through my experience, probably something's going on right now. Like, let's try to talk to them and see what's going on with them. I also think through all the skills that I've gained through my internships, I've had like a lot of improvement on like leadership and communication, and wanting to improve. Like I will go to my supervisors and be like, hey, is there anything I can improve on? Is there anything that you want me to do better? And I feel like that's a lot of skills that helps me be where I am today.
For me, it was working with different demographics because yeah, I work with a lot of people in the comm department with group work, but they're all students. It's not like professionals and people who work in different areas. So that was definitely something that I gained, was that type of communication and how to communicate with those people, but also how to handle criticism and also how to give out constructive criticism. Because yeah, we do rubrics and we do criticism of our group members, but as students, we don't want to actually give people bad criticism or actually give criticism, whereas employers will be more than willing to give you constructive criticism. And sometimes you have to be able to do that back. So that was definitely something I learned through the process of all of my internships and even my job in housing, is how to receive the criticism and how to give constructive criticism back.
So I'm going to ask another question, and I'm monitoring to see if Madeline's got anything that she'd like to ask. In general, can you share with students how you prepared for this? So if you had a faculty member review your internship, your resume, career services, did you do a mock interview? Did you have a friend do that? Did you talk to people in advance that had the internship, which it sounds like that was something that Cecilia did. She talked to somebody before she did that. Can you just give some insight about how you went about this?
For me, Cecilia did have the internship with the Psychology Success Center before I did, and I took a lot of insight from her. Keep in mind that age really doesn't matter. I'm a little older, but she still had more experience in that department than me, and she really helped me step outside of my comfort zone and kind of move forward into that. But other than that, I had lots of other people in my life, like my grandma, my boss at the union, lots of other people who encouraged me to step outside and try something new. I knew I wanted to have some kind of experience since I knew I wanted to go to grad school after. But it takes someone to sometimes give you that little push to say, maybe you'd be good at this. And sometimes you're like, oh, I don't know. But other times they might be spot on. So I definitely think others kind of pushing me and giving me little pointers helped out in my experience.
When I was a sophomore, when I first got my internship, I got pulled in by an upperclassman, which I really appreciated. But I think the fact that she knew that I would be good at it is because I talked about like, this is what I want to do with my future career. I don't know where to start with like experience, where to go. So she helped pull me in there. And then I don't really have a whole lot of support with my family for my career because they don't think it's like the best career for like money at least. So they don't really understand like how like important it is for the community and stuff like that. So I'll definitely go to like a professor and be like, hey, I'm thinking of doing this. Like, what's your opinion, or where do you think this will take me? But also I feel like I'll have to give credit to myself because I want to be like the best person I can. I want to have a lot of experience before like I go into grad school, and I also want experience in like a bunch of realms. So I really push myself also to find opportunities, find like a disbursement of experience as well.
I also had an upperclassman pull me into at least the career services internship, but my mom had the same undergraduate that I was going for with communications. So she also really pushed me, and like supervisors like Linda pushed me, and my RA boss pushed me. So now as like a CA, I'm pushing like the RAs that I think could do great. And it's kind of interesting to see like the roles almost reversed now, where I'm the one pushing people and being like, you can do better than this, or like, I think that you are doing amazing. So it's kind of cool to see how like that shifted just because people pushed me when I was a freshman, sophomore. Now I get to do that with my freshmen and sophomores.
One of my professors has always, like, ever since I was a freshman, always told me the importance of internships and highly recommends them and everything. And I knew that I wanted to do it, but never, I don't know, kind of took that first step. It was actually somebody I graduated high school with. She is a police officer right now, and told me that internships really help with the application process. They make you stand out. Um, and that was my goal. I want to look better than others. And so that was kind of the big push. And then my parents are super supportive. And my internship is actually unpaid. And then since it was in the summer, I had to pay additional for the credits and everything. So it definitely hurt my bank account a lot. But my parents just reminded me that the experience and knowledge that I was gaining is going to pay off in the end, and money's only money, I guess.
So true. I can only talk about the benefit of passion and what you clearly want to do. There are more important things than money. I've learned that in my 30 years of working in higher education, and I wouldn't change it for anything. Last thing that I want to ask all of you, so it could be more than one specific thing, two specific things. It's really great for you to hear how people in your lives encouraged you. Fellow students also did the same thing, which is wonderful. But one or two pieces of, if you really had to say something to a student who was thinking about this type of any type of internship, or one that you did, what would it be that you would want to kind of pass along? And if it's in general versus specific, either way, what works is fine. And whoever would like to go can start with that one. And then we'll see what kind of questions Madeline has.
I would say reach out to, if you hear about like an internship that you're interested in, and like they might not be hiring until like next semester or for a while, still reach out to that faculty member about you being interested in, because that shows that you're not just like applying when you need to apply, like you actually show interest. And that might bring you to like the top of the list when they are looking through applicants. I also do see you have like an interest for the Psychology Student Success Center. And I'm the president of Psyched and PsyChi. So later in October, we'll be having like a board panel of all the professors coming in to talk about their internships and research assistantships. And that will be one that's there. But honestly, right now, I'd reach out to Georgina Wilson. She's the chair of it right now. And I would just like tell her like, hey, my name's blah, blah, blah. These are my interests. I'm really interested in being an intern for you. And then just ask her some questions about it. And I think that would be really good for you. I think I might have went off topic,
Nope.
but yeah.
And that transition to Georgina because Chris Vespia is now doing cattle, right? Okay, I just learned that because I had encouraged Madeline to connect with Chris Vespia. Thanks for that insight about that. Who'd like to go next?
I can go. Kind of what Cecilia was talking about, reaching out, taking that initiative is so huge. I think finding professional connections and not only getting them, but improving on them and strengthening them is really great. That I know to get my internship, I had to have like a list of references, as many other internships do have. I became close with several of my professors, and they were great references because they knew me academically and as a person. Previous jobs or previous internships, if like you've ever had them before, because then they can know how you work and everything in that setting. But then also taking connections that you gain through an internship can help you with a career or things like everything beyond. So I just think that you need to put in the work to create those connections, but the reward that you get from them can be so huge.
For me, it's to make sure that you network, because like with your bosses or with your, like if you're in a group with someone or a coworker, because all those people are easily like references or could help you get an internship. Like I just joined PRSSA and all of a sudden two of them came up to me and they're like, you're the only undergrad, like young person that I know that's in the comm department. Do you want my internship? So I had like 2 internships thrown at me right before I like actually even applied to the program. So definitely network, because that's how you're going to get those connections to be able to get the internships and even potentially future jobs. And also use like LinkedIn, because that's a great way to keep up those connections without like having, because that's more of a professional way to, it's like a professional Facebook. So you can have friends on there and you can be more of a professional setting without being friends on Facebook, which is more of a, you know, like social network.
I'd have to agree with everything that's already been said. One thing though about those connections, like Gabby was kind of saying, you have to keep the connections. You can't just email a professor and be like, hey, I'm super interested in this. They email you back and you just leave them in the dust. The important thing is that you keep connecting. Professors want to talk. I'm going to put it that way. They want to talk to you. Set up time in their office hours to go meet up with them. Ask them maybe if they, after COVID, if you want to get like a cup of coffee or something. Definitely to keep those, keep them close. Let's just put it that way. I got really involved in the psych department because I put my foot in the door, because I started talking to professors and saying things outside of class, like, you know, this was interesting. Tell me more about it. I would also say that another thing that you could benefit from is to reach out to other students, like they were talking before, upperclassmen, even underclassmen, anybody who you think would help you on your journey. Definitely take the time to get to know them and move forward on your dreams.
Awesome. Thank you all. Madeline, do you want to ask a specific question of any one of the four panelists? You can unmute and do that. If your microphone's not cooperating well, you can put the message in the chat. Oh, she says she's still good. Is there any last insight, thoughts, something that you'd like to share among yourselves as panel members? Because you're able to learn from each other in terms of serving in this role as well. So is there any last thoughts, questions that you would like to ask one of your peers? Anything at all?
I don't know how much this relates to other majors, but especially for the comm major, like getting to be a TA for a professor is great because you're making those connections with the professor then. Like I'm currently TAing for one of our capstones with the chair of the department, and that is going to be a great reference for when I need to apply to grad school, because not only is it a professor, but it's the chair of my department, and he's gotten to know me so well that that shows how dedicated I am to my degree and to my program altogether.
I think TAing is really great. Any sort of like leadership role like that within academics, I think can be very, very beneficial. And internships obviously are wonderful, as we're talking about them all today. I think volunteering is super big as well. It shows that you're connected to your community, that you care about different causes and everything. And it's a great way to give back, as well as you can add that stuff to your resume, which is super important. But just getting involved, I think, in any way, shape, or form, whether that is being an RA, a TA, volunteering, internship, anything like that, like putting yourself out there to gain more experience. And it doesn't have to be like directly related to your career, but just life experience in general is super good.
I would also add with the volunteering, for like graduate school or like jobs, when they see that you're volunteering, they don't want to see that you volunteered like once a month for a year. They want to see that you volunteered like once or twice a week for a year. And if that's like not possible for like a whole year, like just do it for a few months or like as much as you can, because they want to see that you've gained some knowledge from it, like not just like a little bit, but like a handful of skills and like lessons from the place you're volunteering from.
Madeline's got a question about the process of becoming a teaching assistant. So who would like to add that? And it may be different by department, but she'd like some insight on that.
I'll talk to that a little. So for psychology, like Cecilia was saying, we bring all the professors that we can into a meeting for the psyched club, and they will go over all the different research assistantships and everything that they have planned. They'll go through, and they all kind of break it down depending on the classes that they teach in any given semester. So every internship opportunity and every teaching assistantship opportunity, research assistantship opportunity, they bring to you in that meeting. They also do send out emails. Our department head, Georgina, sends out emails to let you guys know of experiences that are open and available. Usually do an interview process, and then takes a little while for them to go through everything, and then they would send you an email with their decision.
The comm department, you kind of just ask a professor if they need a TA, and then you become a TA. That's how I got social media strategies this semester. And then I was in CAHSS, the other capstone, which is cases, last semester. And I did so well, and he knew I was returning that he literally halfway through the semester is like, yeah, Gabby's going to be the TA next year, without asking me. So that's kind of how I got my TAs.
And in most cases, it is a requirement that you've had the course that you're going to be a teaching assistant in. So if it's intro to psych, or if it's social research, or if you really like statistics and you want to do that with Georgina, that's usually the requirement that most faculty, but it is a combination of how they apply, you approaching them, they approach you. I would always say, if you have interest, initiate the conversation before you have to wait to get it, because then they're going to see that you're eager and you're interested. Any other questions, Madeline? I'll look and see if you've got any in the chat. Is there anything else our panelists would like to share? Feel free to unmute if you'd like to share anything additional.
Oh, Cassandra, you can go first.
Okay, I was actually just gonna go back to what you were saying. Getting involved in your department, getting involved in general is a really good thing. Sometimes you do have to step outside of your comfort zone and push yourself to try new things. Cecilia, Gabby, and I can all relate to that with sororities on campus. All of us stepped outside of that comfort zone where maybe we weren't, I don't know, as much of, oh yeah, I thought about joining a sorority, but after we did, it's been one of the coolest experiences I think all three of us have had. And it's given us lots of different leadership opportunities in that for years to come. And, you know, you kind of gain lifelong friends and different things down the road that they may need help with, you know, you're always kind of there, so they can bring experiences even after college. So definitely get involved in anything that you find interesting. There's so many orgs on campus to get involved in. So if you find one, even if it's not related to your major and you're like, hey, that looks super cool, try it out.
I know that all of us have sort of mentioned like networking and growing connections with others and everything. I think that the connections that you grow with your internships are just as important as the ones that you create to get your internship. I know that personally for me, I of course learned a lot from all the officers that I was with, but I know a lot of them have shared that they're willing to help me with applying processes and everything, and I know I can go to them for advice. So not only everything that you gain in your internship is super important, but the people that you gain that information from is super good, and that they can help you get a job or in your career and everything later on too.
I also want to jump off of what Cassandra said about like branching out and like joining orgs. Like, I'll admit I'm in charge of like 5 different orgs on campus, and yeah, that's a lot. But the amount of people that I'm meeting and the skills that I'm gaining from every single org is different, and something that's like really going to help me in the future, because it shows that I can delegate and that I can be organized and do time management, because how else am I going to be in charge of 5 different orgs? But also to look for experience in the most unusual ways. Like, I'm going to Belize for 2 weeks in January, which is super cool, just to do what I want to do with underprivileged children. And that's really going to set me apart from a ton of people, because how many people can say that they have gone to another country to help underprivileged children learn how to speak and do evaluations on those children without even being in a graduate program? So like, really look out for the most, I don't know, the weirdest ways to get experience. That's really going to set you apart. And it's what you love, because that's also going to help you realize what you want to do and find that passion and further push that passion.
I want to thank the 4 of you for participating today. I will share with you that when we do post our recordings, we average anywhere from 50 to 60 views in a given semester. So I have no doubt that there will be some interest from students, even though they didn't join us here directly, but Madeline did. If by chance Madeline reaches out to me specifically about a way to connect with one of the 4 of you, are you okay with me to make that connection via email? Okay, wonderful. Then I will offer that to you, Madeline. If you want to, you can reach out to me and I can connect you with any one of the 4 of them. All right. I'm going to go ahead and stop my recording right now. So thank you all very, very